Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about SQL Processing Order versus the logical order. I've asked you some questions, some of you just some random stuff, and just kind of thinking about how SQL works. And I know when I was starting this process, it was confusing on how SQL worked and the way things are ordered, because when we write it, it's select from where, but the way the system actually processes it is not that way. So we'll just kind of go over that for engagement this week, and you guys can think about that and ask questions, little questions for you. So when you typically write a query, you would do something like select student ID from students where student grade equals F, have in group by major or something like that. So logically, that feels like we start by selecting the columns we want, then we choose a table, then we filter the rows, then we group and summarize, filter the groups, and sort the results. That's how we think it run, that's how it's written, that's how it looks. It makes sense, right? That's things work in the order that it's written. But computers process things a little bit different. So kind of underneath it all, SQL will execute the query in a physical processing order, and that starts with from, which is where we load and join all of our tables. So if we can think of like our IDE is like a blank slate, and we have to load things into it so that we can work with it. So the from thing we're going to do is we're going to load the tables into it and to do our joins to say how they're all connected with our keys. And then we're going to do where, so that we're going to filter our tables and pare them down right away. So for our case, where students equal grade equals F. We'll do any grouping if we're going to do any grouping, which isn't used all the time. Having, if we're going to do any aggregating, which again isn't an all the time thing. You'll always have select from. Those will always be around, and then the rest of the stuff, the wheres and all that, sometimes are optional. And then select comes in fifth order, so that's when we give us our our data that we're going to use, and then we finish things up with order by, which is we kind of sort the result set. So that's just kind of how things work. So if you could think of a query where we alias something, right? So we take select student ID as, select student underscore ID, and we change it to student ID because that's what our end user wants for our thing, right? And then if we try to use student ID without the underscore in the where statement, is going to fail because the select statement is where we do our aliasing, but the where statement happens first. So then it's not going to know that column is student ID, all one word, and without the underscore. So we'd have to do in our where statement, even though we might be thinking about it in our select statement as student ID, we actually need to sort by student underscore ID. It makes a lot more sense when you write it out through some of your things. So we either have to refer to it as the original column name, or you could wrap it on a subquery if you really wanted to filter on that name for whatever reason, just for easy use or because it makes sense in your head. So I know that's kind of confusing. I know some of the questions I asked in this last week, some of the answers I got, we had the where statement in a couple different places. Again, it makes sense to how it is, but the way you wrote it, but it's also just not right for the way SQL is. So you can so here's some questions, for engagement, just feel free to respond back to them. And then how might understanding this processing order help you debug or optimize your queries? So knowing how things are processed, can you think of any ways on knowing how things are processed like this, that we might be able to debug our queries and find some simple errors? I know I do it all the time. Thankfully, AI kind of helps that stuff sometimes, but I've definitely put things in the wrong order or forgot aliases or alias things in the wrong place. And then you might just spin your wheels for a while until you figure it out. So kind of take a think on that, and let me know what you think about it. And then ask me any other questions, or feel free to just shoot me a message and let me know how your SQL journey is going.